Good evening, everyone. I see we're just about ready to get started. I see a few more participants joining at the moment. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to Banking Services Available for Small Businesses. I'm Deanna Blaze, Vice President of Business Banking and Member Services for Business Banking over here at Valley Strong Credit Union. We're pleased to have you join us this evening for our second business banking workshop. And we hope you'll walk away this evening with some good information about some details that I can share regarding some of the business banking services that are out there available for businesses. And before I get started, I want to let you know that joined with me this evening is Kristen Hartzell, our business manager for product management. She is going to handle some of our Q&A session this evening. And then I also have Mallory Cuevas, our senior digital marketing officer here at the credit union, and she will be assisting with any possible technical difficulties that may come up this evening with our Zoom session. So with that, we are going to go ahead and get started. I am also wanting to let you know I've been in business banking now for 20 plus years and been with a credit union for about 2 years. And our business banking area just launched previously in August of 2019. So many of you out there in our community may not be aware that we have business banking services now available at the credit union. So we hope that you'll find some good information this evening as we walk through what's available for your small business. Now, before we get started, I'm going to go over just a few Zoom details. So what we want to do, go ahead and ask your questions in the Q&A feature that's listed down below in your Zoom session. We'll be able to collect all of your questions and I will be answering them. Most of them, I'm sure that we'll be able to get to at the end of our Zoom session. And please keep in mind, if you are looking for a more in-depth meeting, potentially with business banking, as we get to the end, you can request that as well. Now, at the end of the webinar, we will be sending out an evaluation along with the presentation slides. And within that evaluation, you'll have the opportunity to request for additional services as well, or also request for a contact to be made to you at the end of the session or at the end of the survey when you get that completed. So as a reminder, make sure you complete that survey. It does help us understand what type of workshops you'd like to see offered for business banking. And that will allow us to make sure we're addressing all of the needs that you may have that are related to your business. So with that, let's go ahead and dig right into our session this evening and we'll get started. So let's talk a little bit about our agenda this evening. And most of you out there who've registered in advance, you should have had a participant guide presented to you through your email address. So if you didn't get that this evening, not to worry, we'll definitely make sure it gets out to you and so that you can come back and revisit some of the details that we'll discuss tonight. So what we're going to talk about here this evening, and we do have a full agenda, so we may not have a time to get to everything that's listed, but the good news is this information is in your participant guide and you're more than welcome to contact us with any additional needs that you may have. And I do encourage you to read that at your leisure in your own time. Tonight, we're going to be covering business banking fundamentals, choosing the right financial institution and what that means for you. We'll talk about additional banking services, ways that you can improve your chances of getting a business loan if you're needing a business loan. And then we do have within our session here the opportunity to kind of take a pre-test, if you'd like, to just kind of understand your knowledge of business banking services. And then there is a post-test at the end. You're more than welcome to test yourself on some of those items. And then we can address that further on as time permits in our session this evening. So some of the things that we're also going to go over is some of the benefits of building effective long-term relationships with a business banker. And then we'll also be talking about identifying the banking services commonly available to a small business. And we'll explain how these services work. We'll also identify advantages and disadvantages of each of these services and explaining how small business owners decide which banking services are best for their business. And then we'll define several forms of deposit insurance and the difference between FDIC insurance compared to what you'd find at a credit union is insured by the NCUA. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Now, getting into a session around describing some of the benefits of the long-term relationship with the banker, that's really a critical topic we'll talk about that can help consult with you as things change, whether you're getting started in business or that you're a much more seasoned business owner and looking to understand what that relationship will do for you. We're also going to describe the role of your personal credit score in the lending process as well, and why it's important to understand what that looks like for you as a business owner. And then we're going to explain the benefits of separating business and your personal bank transactions and why that's important as well. So before we get there, now let's go to some information around the pretest. If you have that in your workbook that you got for the participant guide, you'll have an opportunity to visit that. It should be in your guide on pages 10 and 11 if you'd like to take that pretest. I'll give you just a minute to take a look at that if you'd like, and then we'll continue on with the presentation. So we'll just have a brief pause here and let you take a look at that in your guide. All right, so before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and open up the first poll that I'd like to poll the group on, and some items around what would you like to know in regards to the services related to business banking. So go ahead and take a moment to answer the first poll that we have posted out here for you. And then we'll reveal the results of the group here momentarily. Okay, great. It looks like the majority of our group attending this evening is really focused on just getting started and understanding. And a few of you do have some experience, so that's great to hear. So that helps me understand where we can focus in on this evening. So thank you very much for answering our first poll. And now let's dive into the business banking fundamentals and some things that you want to consider when deciding what banking services you want to need. And so some of the topics that I'd like you to think about when it comes to checking, savings, or accessing your accounts, I'm going to ask you think about a few questions. One of which is, do I need to regularly pay employees or vendors? That's a really common one you want to think about. Do my customers generally pay via check, credit card, electronic transfer, or in cash? Do I want to be able to download statements and transactions into a software program such as QuickBooks or another application that maybe your business is using for your accounting and bookkeeping? Will you need to make deposits after banking hours? If so, are you going to need a night deposit bag or with locks, or maybe it's remote deposit scanner that you might be looking for? And what are your cash needs? Let's think about that. Does your business need a lot of change or small bills? What are some of the fees associated to buying cash from the institution that you might be evaluating when you're thinking about where would my business want to be banking? And also be thinking about what are your loan needs and how might you match up the institution that you choose with the specific needs that you may have if your business is looking to expand, such as purchasing some equipment, or maybe you need an operating line of credit to help with some working capital or inventory. Take a look at what that means for you. And then, do you need some startup funds? And an SBA loan guarantee is one great way to consider being able to help you as you're getting started in business, or also line of credit, or if you're looking for a minimum business loan to build credit. We'll talk a little bit about that tonight. And how helpful would it be to have a banker who understands, really your industry that you're in, and also really your profession. Maybe you're in the services industry and you're wanting to line up with a banker that could be assigned to your business at the financial institution you choose. So some really important topics for you to think about. So we're going to go to another poll that will help us continue to understand your needs out there and discussing the banking services. So I'm going to give you a moment just to jot down, answering the poll here, what are some of the services that you're looking for that you need for the business based upon the discussion we just had on the previous slide. So I'll give you a few seconds there to go ahead and respond, and then we'll reveal the results of the poll here in just a moment. Some of the things you'll want to consider is if you do not currently have a financial institution for your business, what do you plan to look for as you're searching for your institution? All right, wow, resounding great information. Online banking seems to be pretty critical, and definitely your operating accounts for your checking and savings at 100% off the chart there. And then leading is a remote deposit. And we'll talk a little bit about that tonight, whether it be the difference between mobile deposit or also desktop remote deposit. So thank you for answering that brief poll. So let's go ahead and discuss what some of the needs you may have in choosing the right financial institution. So when you're considering some of those unique needs and preferences in choosing the right institution, for example, perhaps you're going to need to make deposits in your account through an ATM after normal banking hours. A lot of institutions will list their core products and the minimum balances requirements on their website. So you want to take a look at some of those needs there. You might want to call your institution as well, or a few in your area, and ask for an appointment, maybe to meet with the branch manager, or maybe it's just an officer or a new accounts officer. Maybe perhaps in some institutions, if you're needing a commercial banker, that might be a great way for you to find out what the customer service experience looks like and maybe what a relationship would look like. You can discuss with them some of your business needs, request some of their feedback from a consultative matter. You might find that really helpful. And they can also direct you to the right services, kind of based on the conversation that you end up having with them, how they can meet your needs. And I've given you a few factors really to consider what you choose in the best, really benefit to your needs. Is it accessibility, like asking for the driver walk-up? Do they have a drive-through? Is that really critical for you and your timing? And are their products and services going to meet the needs of your business? And then definitely find out the fee schedule and what is this going to cost your business, to make sure that you're perfectly aware of what this could look like for your business, and maybe how your funds can work for you to help pay for those services that you're looking to use at the financial institution. And then when is the deposited funds, when are they going to be available for you to use, as far as when they become collected funds and available to you? That's really important that you understand what those needs are. And then finally, looking at perhaps maybe you already have a relationship with an institution or know someone who is really happy with their current institution. Find out what their service is like. And I would pull some of your friends out there in the business community, if you're involved with the Chamber of Commerce. That is definitely another great way to find out some referrals that you might refer your way. And then a good relationship with a key person at your bank can help you establish or increase credit and save you money in fees, and then also enhance your business opportunities through taking advantage of maybe their personnel contacts there. You can also establish a nice list of people who can help you get familiar with your business. I think that's a really critical item when you have a team of bankers around your business to support you, whether it be your day-to-day needs. And then ask yourself if your representative who meets with you seems genuinely interested in your business and the market that you are currently serving, or has knowledge of the type of business that you're in. And then you might want to ask some of your other business owners if they've ever had any experience in dealing with that institution and what was the experience like. And then at that point, you can evaluate the banking services. Do they meet your needs, and what are the costs? I would definitely recommend that you evaluate the services that they have for you, and consider reviewing, I would say, some of the institution product brochures that are out there available to you. Do you have the ability to waive any of the fees that you might get? And maybe you can consider consolidating multiple accounts at one institution. That's a great way to take advantage of balances that can help you pay for some of those services that your business needs. And then you should also find out how long it will take before you can access your deposits. We talked about that briefly. And writing a check when you do not have funds available to cover the deposit could likely, cause you non-sufficient funds. So you may want to consider an overdraft protection product for you, making sure that's available if that happens to present itself when you're doing your day-to-day business. And then we talked a little bit about the institution's insurance to insure the deposits that you have there at the institution. Take the time to make sure you understand whether it be a credit union through the NCUA or FDIC insured, and that you can understand the limits so that your deposits are insured. And definitely the credit union, if you're coming from a bank, the credit union does have insurance for those deposits as well. Very similar fashion that you would see at FDIC insurance. And the standard insurance is $250,000 per depositor. And for the business, it's per the business. So your business deposit funds would be insured as well. So if you'd like to get further information about FDIC comparison to the NCUA insurance, we'd be more than happy to send you more information about that. You can take the time to verify that the institution is insured. And I definitely encourage you to take a look at the different organizations out there. You can go out to Google and understand if you want to compare. For those of you that are curious about that, that's a common question I get asked a lot is, are my funds going to be insured if I'm banking at a credit union? They absolutely will be. So learn what you need to know about that. And again, if you have further questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll walk you through that. So let's talk a little bit about the different types of checking accounts that are available. And we'll go into small business checking. And these accounts will generally allow for fewer fee-free transactions. And they're including deposits of checks. And it's usually typically done on a monthly basis what that will look like. And this account usually has a lower minimum balance requirement than other business checking accounts. And you'll want to take a look at the different levels of accounts and the number of deposits you're going to make, or the number of checks that you may write, or the types of activity coming through, to make sure that your institution that you choose is definitely matching you up to the correct account that's going to fit your needs. Definitely make sure you're not being placed in an account that doesn't fit your needs. Now, on the commercial checking side, this account is usually geared towards a higher volume business that has to run through many more transactions. And sometimes they do have a larger minimum balance requirement. So definitely check into that to make sure you're going to be fit into the right account, and that you take a look at what fees may be associated with that account. And do you have the ability to have your balances work for you, which you can typically earn what's called an earnings credit. And that's based on your average balances, so that you can have those credits go towards paying for some of those services. Some institutions assess charges at the end of your statement cycle, and that's usually based on the number of checks, deposits, number of checks in the deposit, or maybe cash that you deposit at the institution. Or if you're using remote capture scanner, you will see different items based on the services you're going to see there. And then definitely understand the rules that are associated with your account agreement, and so that you're coming into the account fully aware of what your business could be faced with as far as fees associated, or how to get those fees waived. I think that's really critical that you are aware of those items as well. And then your deposit account agreement, make sure you are given a copy of that, because that's going to cover how your account will work. And we do want to make sure that you are well aware of what that looks like. And then the next item I do get asked a lot is around, can I mix my business with personal? And we're faced with a lot of sole proprietors that get started in their account and they're using a personal checking account. And depending on the institution, some institutions may not allow you to commingle your accounts with business transaction into your personal. And one of the reasons why you want to keep your business and personal transaction in separate accounts is to hold your business funds separate from what you're holding your personal for your private own use and taking care of your household, versus the funds that you're setting aside to handle your business expenses. And then keeping separate savings, checking, and even credit card accounts is really necessary for your accurate record keeping. And this will help you at tax time and may even be required depending upon your entity structure of how you decide to establish your business, whether you're going to be a sole proprietor, whether you decide to incorporate, or maybe you're getting legal advice that it's recommended for you to be a limited liability company. Depending upon your structure, will definitely decide for your business what that should look like as far as really avoiding commingling of those deposits. And I promise your bookkeeper will definitely appreciate you looking at this record keeping from a good point, and it will help you avoid any major tax consequences down the road when it comes time to file your business tax return, and making sure that you've got the proper protocol for transfer funds. But you can definitely ask your banker how to generate, different records of activity to make sure that you are really trying to, at your very best, avoid those commingling. And I recommend, if you started out commingling, now is definitely a good time to open that business account so you can begin moving those transactions from your personal to your business and separating out. And it will promise you that you can use that bank statement to help you understand your income and expenses for the year. So let's move on to the next service that we'll talk about, and that's payroll services and the ability to prevent potential fraud or forgeries, handling your record keeping. And then a lot of institutions do provide payroll services, and that can help cut down on the number of checks that you actually have to issue and the potential for fraud or forged payroll checks. And it's a key area to, even if you consider opening a separate payroll account, that will help you potentially prevent from having to open up or reopen a operating account if you happen to have fraud due to payroll checks maybe being taken advantage of. And that's a common area that we see on the banking side. And then some of these services permit entry of payroll or retirement, workers' compensation and insurance payment, and sometimes even as well as federal and state taxes. A lot of the payroll service providers can help you with that. And a key item, if you don't have the ability for staffing yet to handle payroll services, a lot of banks partner with different payroll service providers that can help you with all the different state tax guidelines that are required based on the number of employees you may have. So we do recommend that you consider that for assistance. If you don't have quite a seasoned bookkeeper on board or somebody hired that's very familiar with payroll and how to handle that for your business. State employment tax laws, et cetera, are critical when making sure that you're taking care of payroll properly. And depending upon your industry, that you may have some pretty stringent requirements for hourly, or if you're running prevailing wage jobs, et cetera. We recommend utilizing a service like that to help you manage that. Now, payroll services, they can be direct deposited to the employee's account. If your business has employees who do not have a bank checking or savings account, I would recommend you talk to your institution and they may help you with additional services for that. Many institutions do have products to meet the needs of those who need a second chance checking account as well. And so a lot of institutions do offer that for your employees that may be wondering, gosh, can I get a bank account and put my payroll in there? So I do encourage you to ask that of your bank that you're looking to, bank or credit union, looking to partner with, so they can assist you in all the different areas when you're thinking of employing people. And then another element that I'd like to address with you, and a lot of businesses ask about cash management services, and what does that really mean? And cash management is just really another way of allowing you to understand how money is coming into your account, how it's going out of your account, and some of the services that are available to you to help your business financial management side run a little bit more efficiently, or to help you manage potential fraud on your account. And some of those services we have posted for you here on the screen tonight is online funds transfers, or ACH, what's called origination for debits or credits, whether you want to utilize those services for paying your own employees, you can do that through online banking, or possibly paying a vendor, being able to be an originator. So that's a great service available. Another service that is known is also as zero balance account features. Some institutions offer that. You can only make deposits into your operating account, and then you only write one payroll check out of the payroll account, and each paycheck is presented at your institution. And when it is, the total checks and moves exactly that amount from your payroll account from the operating account. So it's a really easy way to see those funds transfer back and forth. And it's kind of a form of a sweep that's automatically done. So it's a simplified way to only have to have the necessary funds move over as needed. So you keep the remainder of your funds sitting in your operating account. And that's a great way to manage your payroll account there. Let's go ahead and take a look now at some of the different savings products, and we'll go into some information about certificates of deposit, and let's talk a little bit about what those items look like. So savings accounts have limitations sometimes in the number of withdrawals permitted each month. So you're going to want to ask the institution out there if there are any limitations, and some of the regulations recently changed that have prevented and removal on some of those accounts where they may have been limited to 6 transactions a month. So if you're going to be using savings, or maybe you're saving for a capital, a big capital purchase, but you're setting funds aside on a monthly basis to go towards that, make sure you're taking a look at what are the different criterias of being able to move money back and forth. And then on certificates of deposit, with your traditional NCUA insured certificate of deposit or FDIC, if you're currently at a bank, you agree to keep the money in an account for a few weeks or to several years. So it really depends upon how long you'll want to place those funds in a more fixed term. And again, it could be up to many years, and institutions do vary on those business transactions for share certificates of deposit. So you'll want to check that out and also take advantage. Sometimes the rates are paid differently on certificates of deposit, typically sometimes based on the account balance that you're going to keep, and then also based on the length of term that you're going to keep. So you can take a look at that. But most institutions will require sometimes a deposit up to at least $500. It just varies from institution to institution. And some will allow you to open with maybe even a smaller deposit amount. And now the rates and terms and features of CDs may vary significantly from institution to institution. So it definitely pays to shop around to make sure you're capitalizing on the best rate that's going to pay you the best return, especially if you're saving for something specific that your business is needing. And then sometimes CDs can be used as loan collateral or held at your institution for what's called a letter of credit. If your business out there needs that letter of credit, you can check into the different requirements when placing funds there that may assist you with achieving some of your lending needs. So take a look at that. And if you need to build a credit history for your business, check with your institution to whether or not they would consider doing a CD secured loan as an option. And that is one great way in some form to build your credit, but also utilizing your funds there as collateral when you're getting started. All right, so let's now move on to talking about your business account access. And as a lot of you really wanted to make sure the online banking access was there and how you can utilize those services to conduct really almost every facet of your business banking can be done almost entirely online. However, depending upon how your deposits for your sales are coming in, what method do you want to use? So authorization, of course, and viewing or any transaction limitations may apply. And each institution's online banking may look, a little bit different. And they may have different requirements as far as setting up your access, depending upon if you have one main account with one business, or maybe if you're an owner that owns multiple businesses. Each institution may have different reasons why they may authorize you to only access one account, or if they have agreements on file that you can sign to allow you to have access to all accounts with one login. But that could vary from institution to institution. So depending upon your needs, you definitely want to explore how that's going to fit your business. And then a lot of times you may want to set up levels of access for your employees, especially if you need them to reconcile or help reconcile your account, or if you are utilizing some of the services such as remote deposit scanner for making deposits. Maybe you need to assign user rights to people that you're employing to do certain things to help you run the day-to-day operations of your business. So you'll definitely want to explore the online banking platforms, institution, to make sure it's going to fit your needs and to understand some of the different advantages of banking online. That's really, some of it's for information, is normally updated throughout the day as well. And so you can view your account activity sometimes within minutes of the activity, and that can vary from institution to institution. But another advantage is that the front and back images of checks and previous statements are often available through e-statements. So a lot of that key information that you need to understand where your cash position is on a day-to-day basis. It definitely helps you eliminate, I think, the charges for services, to provide for copies of lost checks, or maybe to look up past statements. E-statements is just a great way to have all that information at your fingertips. Or if you're utilizing an accountant, and you can also provide them a user access so that they can get access to your information on a really quick and timely manner as well. So definitely something to keep in mind. And then also, when banking online, you want to take steps to avoid fraud. And if your business becomes a victim of online theft, there is a chance that money may not be recoverable at the institution that you're banking at, and they may not be responsible also for the loss. So you're going to want to check that out with the institution that you're looking to do business with. And you should partner with your institution to make sure you're creating and maintaining a secure banking practice. And that goes for being mindful of sharing your credentials, who they're shared with, and the different ways that you can share that information with maybe even employees that you're giving user rights. So you'll want to make sure that you are also monitoring the activity that's taking place on a user basis. And then also being mindful of corporate email takeover and what that could look like, to your organization. So you're going to find out what that might look like. So one of the other elements around ACH debit and credit processing or wire transfers, they do provide for quick online transfer of funds. So you want to take a look at that. And you can generate these usually from your office for purchases, and that can be done through online banking as well. So that is another way to be able to pay for goods and services, depending upon what that will look like. And there's also another service that some institutions provide that's called lockbox service. And that permits you to focus on doing business while payments to customers mailed to you, they're processed by another institution on your behalf or your bank institution on your behalf. So your customers will send checks or other payments to a specific address. And commonly you'll see like PG&E or something like that where you mail to a PO box. It's actually going to a lockbox that gets processed for the institution, and then transactions are handled as such. So they will process and then credit them to your account and provide you the account record. So that's another great service. And then a lot of you were asking about remote deposit capture. And so if you feel that you do not like walking in or driving to the institution to make deposits, or you just don't want to handle the risk of having one of your employees go out to make those deposits, that's something that you want to check to see if that you have access to remote deposit. All right, so let's move on. We'll talk a little bit more about deposit insurance and the insurance that covers businesses that even if you're a sole proprietor or whether you're a corporation, limited liability company, the NCUA does cover those deposits, very similar to FDIC insurance, and deposits maintained in separate branches of the same NCUA or FDIC insured institutions are not separately insured. So you'll want to make sure you're checking into the different, aspects of deposit insurance. And depending upon how your entity is structured, that will be indicative of how your account will be insured as well. So difference between on the, the personal side where you can insure based on the number of beneficiaries as well that may increase your insurance. Business accounts are treated just slightly different compared to your personal side. So definitely take advantage of understanding the difference between insuring your funds personally compared to what it looks like for your business. And then let's talk a little bit about business debit cards. Now, the business debit cards are allowed for your business to make online purchases or point of sale purchases without the use of credit. And this card can also be used for cash withdrawals at ATMs, but it's going to come obviously directly linked to your business account. And it can be used for convenience, but you'll want to make sure you're handling it and monitoring for any risk associated. If you decide to have a card issued, just definitely be aware of the risks. Using your debit card will protect you from fraud and losses. Also maybe with dishonest employee who could use the card for personal purchases or obtain maximum allowable amount for cash withdrawals, etc. So be careful about who you may give access to the business debit credit card. Remember, it's attached directly to that business account. It can be in the form of Visa debit. It's a great way to access your funds, but definitely be aware of what that looks like for your business. And in some ways, having a business credit card treated differently can limit some of the risk on your account as well. And because federal law doesn't protect business debit cards, it's very important to understand the terms that your bank or credit union account agreement may display, and regarding the liability for unauthorized transactions. So definitely take a look at that. And the state laws also regarding commercial transactions may provide some protection, but you want to consider asking, a little bit more further details and, depending upon institution, what does that look like for debit card transactions for your business? So they're treated differently compared to consumers. So if you lose or misplace the card, definitely notify your institution right away and review the transactions on your account statement as soon as possible. And that varies also from institution to institution. As far as if you see an error or a transaction that you did not authorize, you definitely want to do that within your statement cycle period to avoid being liable for those charges if you're not monitoring your account. So we highly recommend you monitor your account through online banking so you're seeing any possible fraudulent activity that you want to stop right away so it doesn't impact your business more than it should. All right, so let's move on now and let's talk briefly about merchant processing services. And this is going to expand your capabilities of increasing your sales. Most people are aware of how to sign up and have merchant services so that your account can receive payment for services or products via credit card, debit card. Some programs even allow for gift cards that you can increase your revenues by offering gift cards to potential customers that come into your place of business. A lot of times it's online payments and sales that are capable if you're having an online platform for your business. Merchant services are available for your online platform as well. And your sales definitely could increase by accepting consumer credit cards. And many institutions offer merchant processing services that allow your business to accept credit and debit. And then when you think about the gift card idea, that does help for advanced sales to generate more income during the holidays or on different special occasions. So depending upon your business type, you really may want to consider opening up a gift card opportunity under merchant services as well. So great way to drive sales for your business. And then if you're providing any wholesale products then merchant services may be able to establish an online system for you to receive payments from buyers, which can decrease the time from billing to receipt. And that definitely will improve the cash flow for your business as well, to be able to run your business a little bit quicker for cash flow turnaround. Now, let's go ahead and if you turn to page 16 in your participant guide, you're going to locate a table there where you can capture your banking service needs. So I do encourage you to take a look at that in your booklet there. And within that item, you can list the banking services that you anticipate in the next 6 months to a year that you think you might need. And that might help drive the conversation. If you currently don't have a business bank, I think this will help you have a better conversation when you're interviewing the bank or credit union that you're looking to do business with. Or maybe if you plan to have different needs in the next several years, it'll help put a definite plan out there for you to follow. And assigning a date to each, representing when you need to have the service in place or when you need to reevaluate those services as well, keeping track of how you're going to be using those banking services and what the changes might be. So definitely take a look at that in your guide. And then let's talk a little bit about reconciling your accounts and the importance of that, and whether it be understanding your institution statements, and they should really contain direction on reconciling on the back of it. But sometimes services are also out there available for account reconciliation. And if you're having difficulty balancing the statement to your records, or if you're finding discrepancies or maybe potential transactions that you didn't authorize, contact your institution right away so that they can help you reconcile your account and make sure everything is as it should be based on your knowledge of the transaction that should or shouldn't be coming through your account. And then if you find an error in your bank statement, contact them right away. And definitely take a look at making sure the amounts that came through your account were encoded properly, or if you're seeing an error or a deposit that's in your record shows one amount, but maybe your bank statement shows something different. So I highly recommend you reconcile every month, or if you have a bookkeeper that's doing that for you, it's definitely going to help you make sure your book balances match up to what your bank records are showing. And I promise you, your CPA or bookkeeper will definitely appreciate that when it comes time to filing your taxes. So you're also going to want to retain remote scanner software reports out there if you're using desktop remote deposit or even mobile deposit, making sure that you're reconciling to those items. And then when you think about really getting down to reconciling, it depends on the institution. Some institutions say look at the liability between 30 days or maybe even looking at 60 days. So take a look at that. And then let's move on to protecting your business from online theft. And we definitely recommend that you use strong passwords. And some institutions will require you to change those frequently. Definitely want to avoid using public wireless hotspots in areas like cafes or like at Starbucks or airports, making sure that you're not on a public logging in under a public wireless area. And then ensure that your staff or employees also understand about using email or answering phone calls. There's a lot of fraudsters out there that claim to be something that they're not. And make sure your employees are guarded around giving out information that they really should not be giving. It's not common at all that your institution is going to call asking for that information, because they should have that record of your business already on file. So make sure you have your staff have some training around that as well, so they don't give out your information as they shouldn't. And then making sure that you're on guard against that. And going back to passwords, try to find something that's unpredictable, because really, if you avoid using common names that may be identified by cyber thieves, I'd like to call them. I mean, they definitely have ways to get into that information. So try to use a good, strong password, and then make sure your computer has the latest operating system and antivirus security updates. That's a real critical element as well. And many of the high-profile losses to businesses have really involved known vulnerabilities that could have been prevented just by updating your computer software. And if you don't have antivirus software on your computer, I highly recommend that you get some of that software for your business, especially if you're running your accounting software through that. Make sure that you're looking at that as well. And then another feature out there that you can add that a lot of institutions have under their cash management services is called positive pay, and sometimes debit block services, which means that it can help protect your account from being subject to ACH and check fraud. And you have the ability to upload your payables file to the institution. And then as your checks come in to clear or ACH items come in to clear, it's going to be checking for the proper serial number, which would be your check number, the dollar amount, and even down to the payee line item. So if you see something come in, or let's say a check comes through to clear and it's known as called washing and trying to clear for a different dollar amount, you can actually reject those items from hitting your bank account, and the institution will return that item for you to prevent that fraud from happening. So excellent service to consider to help partner with your financial institution to protect your account from fraud. So definitely take advantage of those services that are out there for you. And then let's just talk briefly about commercial lending. I know we're getting to almost the top of the hour in our subject tonight, but we'll just do a high-level overview of commercial lending. And we'll talk just briefly about your institution and the capability of financing your receivables, line of credit, and the difference between term loans for fixed assets, whether it be equipment you need to buy over a longer period of time, or maybe if it's even a real estate loan. So business lines of credit do permit your business to borrow up to a certain dollar amount, and then you can repay it in installments, typically with interest only, and then you can pay down principal over time within that definite time period. And it's usually used for your current expenses over 12 months. So definitely not using that for long-term expenses such as purchasing a vehicle for your business, etc. So keep in mind what that will look like for you. And then your business term loan, that's going to establish a set dollar amount, over your ability to repay that installment over 3 years or more. And then it's commonly recommended for purchases such as financing, like we were saying, equipment or a vehicle. Typically, sometimes that can be 3 years, as long as sometimes 7 years. It depends on the institution that you're looking at and what products are available for you. And then depending on your type of business or situation, you might consider asking about the different types of financing available at your institution. And that may be around manufacturing. If you're in a distressed area, what's available to you, and take a look at the industry that each institution is serving. And then another way you might think about financing is through business credit card. And that's a convenient option because they do allow you to defer payment, and then you'll be using the card issuer's money, not your own, until you pay off the balance. So great way to think of that, as well as far as using the credit card. And then depending upon the card, it may also offer some rewards that are really great for your business to take advantage of. So take a look at that. And sometimes those services can allow you for additional benefits to your employees as well, based on rewards that you can give back at the end of the year, et cetera. But know the risks associated if you're going to take out a credit card. And then one of the items I do want to talk about in our partnership with the Small Business Administration is the loan guarantee associated with small business loans. It can help you secure with smaller dollar amounts down on lending and with those needs. And some of the institutions out there are definitely an SBA lender. So look for that when you're looking to partner or needing some additional assistance, whether it be for 7A loans or with real estate, your 504 loans, and what your needs might be for commercial lending. And sometimes the SBA does offer access, loans up to $50,000 to get started, and typically, according to the SBA, sometimes their average loan amount is about $13,000. So they do very small microloans associated with small businesses as well. And depending upon your situation, that may be the best benefit for you as well. So take a look at that. And then the one thing to improve your chances of getting a business loan, we definitely recommend that you develop the understanding of the 5 C's of credit. Do your homework, ask the questions you're wanting to know about building a long-term relationship also with your banker to help consult with you. And then the importance of making sure even as you're yourself the owner of the business, your personal credit score. The 5 C's of credit, one being capacity. Does your business have the capacity to repay the loan that you're looking for? And the capital, that's the money that you're personally going to invest in the business. How much do you have down to put towards? That can be anywhere from 10% to 30%, depending upon the lender. So definitely understand your capital available. And then it's the collateral. What form of collateral can you provide to help secure the lending you're looking for? And that can vary from institution to institution. And then conditions does have 2 meanings. And the first refers to the condition of the loan. How will you be using the loan proceeds? And will it be used to expand or to purchase equipment or maybe inventory? What kind of condition is the economics going on in your industry right now? Is it locally or across the nation? And that could affect your business ability to repay the loan. And then a character refers to your personal integrity as a business owner and how you're managing your day-to-day business or managing relations with your vendors or customers. That's really important as well. And the lender is going to evaluate your ability to repay a loan, typically based on your projected cash flows. And a lot of times it's how you can debt service, having $1.25 available for every dollar of debt that you might be considering for your business. So good things to think about when it comes to understanding credit there. And really, I recommend you do some comparison shopping and ask for proposal on your package if you're needing lending and understanding the types of financing available for your business. So that's a real critical tip I would give, is making sure you understand the cost associated with the lending that you're looking to achieve. And then let's take a moment and talk just a little bit about some of the details that we're going to feature around the difference between terms and the types of loans that are out there. When you take a look at planning for your personal credit, you're going to want to make sure for you as an owner that there's no hidden surprises, and that you remember to evaluate your own ability as far as total debt for you as an owner, and make sure that you potentially have a business plan associated with your project, especially if you're newer. When you're going to apply for that particular loan, they may be looking for a business plan to understand what it is you're looking to achieve. And they want to know not just that you have a great idea, but that you also have the management experience, and you'll consider finding a partner or employee that does. If you are an inexperienced beginner business, make sure that you've thought all the different questions. And we recommend partnering with the Small Business Development Center out at CSUB. They're a super resource available. Consultation is free to business owners that need those services. And that's a great way to make sure you're planning ahead for whatever those needs might be for your business. They've got a great, many great tools and experts that can assist you there as well. One other item I do want to recommend that you consider as well, especially on some new guidance that was passed this year around Cal Saves and making sure that retirement accounts are available depending upon the number of employees that you have. The institution that you partner with, may have wealth management or retirement planning, and they can assist also with the simple IRA or setting up 401k retirement saving plans, Roth IRAs, or even health savings accounts that will help depending upon the level of items you're at. Now, if you're starting, or let's say if you're a business that's seasoned, a mature business, and you want to make sure you're working towards a retirement savings plan for your business, wealth management areas can assist you with that. So you can establish a plan even if you're self-employed, and check with your institution. They can provide you a number of ways to provide retirement plans or 401k administration. And it's important to speak with your banker or financial advisor to determine the best plan or combination for you and your business. So definitely seek that out, even if you're new or if you think your business is going to quickly expand and you're going to need to offer that. Ask those questions up front so that you're planning definitely ahead of time for what that's going to do for your business and setting those important retirement plans up. Make sure that's available to you at your institution, or they have some type of partnership for you. And then just want to cover, a few key points to consider as we get towards the end of our conversation tonight. Choosing the right institution for your financial needs. The products and services that institutions offer and the fees may be charged for those services, they can vary from institution to institution. So I encourage you to make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into when you partner with that institution. And it definitely pays to compare what they offer to what several other institutions serving your community offers as well. So match yourself up to the right institution that's going to fit your needs. And keeping your business and personal accounts separate isn't always the right thing to do as well. Sometimes having your full relationship at the institution helps you have a full relationship that may be able to improve the rates offered to you as well. So that's something you may want to consider. And then as we think about, the institutions that offer a wide range of loans and deposit products and services to meet your needs, you may be able to deposit checks in your account from your office without visiting the institution. If you need to borrow or consider SBA lending, those are all great methods we've talked about tonight. And then definitely, as a reminder, taking those precautions to avoid fraud or other preventable losses is done by just really monitoring and making sure that you have the assistance to guard your account. So really key points there. And then, the other thing to think about is, does your institution have the ability to help your business run more smoothly with merchant services or payroll or retirement and online? We talked about keeping your business and personal accounts separate, why that's important, and then taking precautions to avoid fraud or other preventable losses, and then establishing a cushion for unexpected expenses, perhaps putting some of those funds aside into a savings. And again, revisiting your personal credit score. If it's low, take some steps to increase it, and we can assist you with that. If you, there's a lot of resources out there. freecreditreport.com allows you to get one free credit report a year, and we highly recommend that as well. And then to improve your chances of getting a loan, definitely develop an understanding of the 5 C's of credit and how that's going to impact you. And then I highly encourage you to build a strong relationship with the lender before, during, and after the loan process. I mean, it's super critical that you develop that relationship that can help your business have a consultant who's on your side. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the opportunity for some final questions. Also in your participant guide, you'll notice there's a post test that you can take that evaluation in your participant guide. I hope you've enjoyed everything you've learned tonight. And then I also want to remind you about the evaluation, of your business and what banks have to offer. Ask yourself, do you have the right questions jotted down from the participant guide? Have you planned out what you need to address there? And then building that relationship over time. And then understanding where you're headed with that relationship. So again, we hope you enjoy that this evening. Remember, as we get towards the end here, remember to complete that evaluation that comes your way. That feedback is super helpful. And then at this time, I want to thank you for joining, and I'll open up the session now to any question, and we'll provide answers to our best of our ability tonight. And we will get going with that. So I'll bring myself back online with the group now and see what questions we might have out there.
Thank you, Deanna. We do have a couple questions. We just have a few minutes, so we'll try to get through as many as we can. The first one is, how do I build business credit? And where do I start?
Okay, so when you think about building credit, as we really previously discussed, definitely it starts with you as the business owner, understanding your personal credit. And depending upon the institution, they're really looking at your cash flow. So you can start out sometimes immediately around the business credit card, let's say as an example, at a very small pace, but often that's not really required. The one thing you want to focus on is, does your business have the capacity to repay the debt? We talked about that $1.25 for every dollar of debt that you may have. And that's really what a lender is going to be looking for, is, can your business handle the current debt you have, both you personally as an owner and for you as the business? So that's one main area, is definitely check your personal credit score so that there's going to be no surprises when it gets time to ask for that credit. So that's definitely the first step. So great question.
Thank you, Deanna. And the next question is, what if I don't have a separate federal tax ID number for my business?
Okay, that's a great question as well. A lot of small business owners who get started, we get that asked a lot. A lot of people start out with just running their business under their social security number, which you can do that as a sole proprietor. But when you form a different entity, depending upon your corp or an LLC, or you're seeking out advice from an attorney or a legal advisor, they can help you just by going to irs.gov, and you can request that as well. And as soon as you start employing employees, you'll be required to have an employee identification number that you can also secure from the irs.gov website. So I encourage you to seek out your accounting advisor for that, whether you have an accountant or bookkeeper, or you're working with a small business development center. They can definitely guide you to understand where you can go to secure that. But it's a pretty simple process. You can do it online. So great question.
Thank you. We have just a couple more. The next one is, and I know you touched on this a little bit throughout your presentation, but the question is it okay to run my sole proprietor business activities through my personal account?
Okay, that's a really good question. We talked about, not commingling of funds, and really the reason behind that. Now, like I said before, some institutions don't allow that to happen. And when they recognize that a consumer may be running business transactions through their account, they may require you to immediately open a business account and don't even allow commingling of funds. So again, the reason for that is to make sure your record keeping, you're keeping your personal and definitely separate from the business, so that when it comes time to managing your income and expenses, you're definitely keeping those items separate. And it's mostly more critical for your reporting on your business side, to be able to know, is your income outpacing your expenses? And if you don't uncommingle them, it's really difficult for you as a business owner to have good financial reporting, to be able to tell your story. And especially when it comes time that you may have some lending needs, it's even more difficult to have clean record keeping. So I highly encourage, a lot of people use QuickBooks to help with that. And there are many QuickBook advisors out there to assist business owners to be able to know how that's going to work for you. And again, I know I keep referring to the Small Business Development Center, but there's such a great resource out there for our business community to partner up with advisors that are out there. So it's just highly recommended that you start your business out foundationally right by separating the two. And I promise you, you'll thank me down the road for doing so.
Thank you, Deanna. And we'll answer one more question. What type of business loans does Valley Strong offer?
Valley Strong offers many different business loans. We can offer lines of credit. We offer term loans. We offer business auto loans. We offer business credit cards. So we have multiple ways, whether it be you're financing equipment or if you need to finance a piece of real estate. Maybe you're leasing a business and you're looking to buy your own office. We can definitely help with that. So we have all different types of credit lines available, just depending upon your business needs. So we're happy to help with that.
Thank you, Deanna. So that is the end of the questions tonight.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a great rest of your evening. Bye-bye.